Hi, everybody. I'm Scott Scheffler. I'm the principal bass of the Allen Philharmonic. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about bow grip for both the French bow and the German bow. One of the most important things about bow grip is, well, number one, the bass bow is the thickest and actually the shortest bow in the string family. I don't know if you've seen a violin bow, but the violin bow is several inches longer than the bass bow. But the bass bow is a very thick stick. So one of the things you're going to really need to focus your energies on is developing the strength to hold the stick in your hand, but also the flexibility and dexterity to be able to move your wrist as you play. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So the very first thing, I think, the most important thing when you're holding a French bow is where to put your thumb. And I'm sorry that my bow's dirty, but I use it a lot. So you'll notice that in the at the very tip here, I've got a little bit of a divot here because I put my finger right on the stick. I put my finger right on the stick here. And what you're going to notice is there are some people that put their thumb here. There are some people put their thumb here. It doesn't really matter. What matters is, does your hand have, is anything locked? Is your hand locked? Nothing can be locked. Nothing should be locked. You need to have the flexibility it takes to draw the string, the bow across the string, and be able to flex your wrist back and forth, and none of your fingers should be locked like this. Okay. Also, I was taught none of your fingers should hang over either. So that's a really important thing to remember when you're holding a French bow. Now, I have a very big hand, so my French bow grip is my fingers here, my pinky's here, and you're going to notice that this little eyelet right here is worn down, and that's because I like to touch that. I like to keep my fingers on this little eyelet here. And what you're aiming for is, like I said before, the strength to hold your thumb, the stick, basically these two fingers are holding the stick down, and your first finger is providing the pressure, and your pinky finger is helping change the direction of the bow. So, I know a lot of people that hold their bow like this. I know a lot of people that hold their bow like this. I know a lot of people that hold their bow like this. This is a little bit more of a violin bow grip, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But the main concept of bow hold is, can you hold the stick and your thumb, and it's kind of hard to hold it perfectly like this. You almost need your first finger there for weight, or else the stick will dip down like this. But what you're aiming for is a very, like, almost like a, if you hold your, like a pencil or something. In fact, let me see if I can find a pencil real quick. Actually, I'll find a pencil later, but you need to hold, like I said earlier, you can't have your fingers like this. You need to have a very arc type, almost like a C. Your fingers should make a C on the bow. And like I said earlier, it doesn't really matter where on the bow you put your thumb, whether it's here or here. It doesn't really matter. As you can see, I have a divot here, and I've got this nice little pad here because I like to stretch my finger out. And what stretching my finger out does is it provides me with just a little bit more force towards the middle of the bow to push down, because you have to push down very hard on the bass. And I don't want to say very hard, but you have to push down hard enough to get a good sound to come out of the instrument. So now, like I said, you need the flexibility. Your hands should be firm, strong, firm, but you need the flexibility to go backwards and forwards. And that's some of the stuff that the bow, one of the things that I think is really important is you should be able to kind of put your fingers here and still be able to play, right? Because I always like to keep the ring finger here to help with the stability of keeping the bow on the string, and you should be able to do this without having much without having too much of your bow droop down or fall or anything like that. And this first finger, like I said, provides weight, but it also helps with bow change, and your pinky also helps with bow change. So this is my preferred bow grip. Thumb here. Thumb never should be straight. Thumb should always be bent like this. So you have this ability to, like, move back and forth and have everything be fluid, because what we're looking for on the bass, and basically any string instrument, is to keep the string vibrating and never really stop the bow. Never draw the bow across the string and it should be bum, just very like a. So that is how I hold my bass bow, my French bow. Straight fingers, stick pinned down, thumb never straight or locked, nothing locked, nothing locked. Everything needs to be very, very arced, nothing locked, very, very loose. And like I said earlier, you should be able to hold your bow with just these two fingers. That's the strength it takes to hold this thing. And this finger can be here. It doesn't matter. But what's important is that we're not squeezing. Too many bass players I know squeeze the bow. Should never squeeze the bow. The thumb pins the stick to the middle finger and the ring finger. And then your pinky and your first finger are left free to help bow change. Okay? Now, conversely, the same concepts apply to the German bow, okay? What's most important about the German bow is the thumb should be on top of the stick, and the thumb pins the stick, the frog, to your hand. Now, one of the things that it takes, so this is my German bow grip, okay? The pinky needs to be down here to kind of help hold up the bow, okay? First finger and second finger right on this stick here. As you can see, there's a little bit of a divot here from holding. Your ring finger's a little, what I call the no man's land. It's kind of just hanging out, and the philosophy, or the physiology of our ring finger is it's going to adhere to your middle finger anyways. So it can hang out in no man's land. But what we're looking for is, just like in the French bow, the strength to pin the stick to your hand, but also the flexibility to be able to move the bow in a way that allows for maximum sound production. And what we're looking for is sort of this type of bow grip. Really, the thumb should never be on the side or over here. It should always be on top. So when you put your bow on the string, the thumb is on the top of the stick, pushing down into the string. And when you go down bow, your hand will detach from the frog to allow the draw upwards. And when you go up bow, your hand will engage into the stick again to allow for this back and forth motion to be able to get a really nice sound on the instrument. And we're going to talk about sound production later, but right now we're just talking about bow grip, okay? You should be able to take away the two middle fingers and just leave your pinky and first finger and thumb on here, because these are the activators that hold the stick. It's actually opposite of the French bow. The stick is held up by the pinky, first finger, and thumb, whereas on a French bow, the stick is held up by the thumb and the middle fingers. The middle fingers help, on a German bow, draw the string forward and backwards, up and down bows. But on the French bow, I feel like the first finger and the pinky are what help with that. So there's just a little bit of a fundamental difference between the German bow and the French bow, but they're the same concepts. Strength, you got to practice on getting this to feel comfortable. You got to practice on getting this to feel comfortable without without locking anything, without cramping, without having any sort of pain. It's got to be free but firm, free but firm. Okay. So to recap, thumb on top in a German bow, thumb on top. I like to engage my first and second fingers onto the stick frog, one on this little wood part here, one on either the frog or the section here, our ring finger in no man's land, and our pinky basically holding up the frog. In French bow, thumb and middle two fingers holding the stick to the hand, and then your first finger and pinky finger never being bent, never being locked, always keeping this this very nice backwards and forwards motion. You want to be able to have a flexible finger system and a flexible wrist system. Okay, so pin it with your pinky and thumb and first two fingers with the German bow, and these fingers help back and forth. And on the French bow, pin it with your thumb, your middle two fingers, and your first finger and your pinky need to be loose. And I'll show you exactly how I bow with the German bow. That's this. And here is how I bow with the French bow. Just like this. Okay? All right. Stay tuned for some tone production comments and some posture comments. Okay, thank you.